Sometimes in life we just suffer. Sometimes it's from being totally withdrawn, or so much stress that we are totally anxious, or so tired that we are totally burnt out. But our current position is not our final destination. No, indeed. There's hope. So whether it's your personal life, your career, your relationship, your business, or your job, we say there's reason to believe again. And we present from Andy's personal development, the breakout room. It's the place for health, happiness, and prosperity. Stay tuned for more. Our next guest in the breakout room is a nutrition mindset coach, dietitian, and certified intuitive eating counselor. Her name is Shelly Najjar. She will teach you the tongue, body, brain alignment. This is our guest. She says, find what works for you and do more of that. As well as, today, I am giving myself permission to be a work in progress. So, let's welcome this inspired nutrition specialist, Shelly Najjar, live in the breakout room. So we are live in the breakout room and Shelly is with us. Shelly, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you, Andy. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for asking. So we're glad to have you on and we're looking forward for some valuable information on something that so many people struggle with. You know, it's the saying that goes around the world, your health is your wealth. And so many people seem to struggle with health because they want to create a lifestyle that says, you know what, I'm enjoying what's happening with me and I can move on to do the things that I really need to do. But there comes a struggle. So you're going to help us today to deal with some of those struggles. It's your area of core competence, and we appreciate you coming on. So tell us a bit about yourself, your history, where you began, and the things that you decided to do, and how that has impacted upon your life today.
Ah, thanks. This is big questions.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're just going to start off. So I, right now, like you said, I'm a nutrition mindset coach and dietitian, and I practice from a unique perspective
Yeah.
where I say that, you can be healthy at any size, and we're going to help you
Uh-huh.
find out where that is for you.
Okay.
Before, I was trained as a traditional dietitian, though. So, weight loss, like intentional weight loss, and telling you foods not to eat and to eat, and basically just shaming people for their food unintentionally, like well intended, but not helpful. So, I I changed my mind. I got introduced to the concept in college, but really in my first job out of my degree in college. I graduated. I got a job at the hospital where I was working during school, and it was just like a nightmare. Like, you see patients come in and they want to improve their health, right? Or sometimes they're not even thinking about that because they just had this horrible thing happen to them, and they're really thinking about, like, wow, I'm so grateful to be alive, and that was a lot of stuff and everything is overwhelming. And now here comes the dietitian, oh, I see you're eating this and this. You should not be eating that. You should eat whatever instead. And they're like, I almost died. Like, what are you talking about? And even the ones who are like, yeah, I almost died. I'm really excited to change my life and I want to eat differently. And so they would change in the hospital, then they would go home, and there was no follow up, and there was no, our instructions weren't helpful instructions, and our
Hmm.
approach was not a helpful approach, and we were
Okay.
setting people up for failure essentially. And so I just couldn't do that anymore. And so I left that job and kind of started exploring that possibility where health is actually more attainable with fewer food restrictions, and you can have an enjoyable life and be healthy. So that's where I am now, and that's kind of how I got there.
Yeah, great. Thanks for sharing, Shelly. So, did you personally have any struggles with uh, proper diet, nutrition, weight loss, and stuff like that? Did you have an experience, a personal experience with any of those things?
I did in kind of some funny ways. Like um, have some food allergies, and they weren't diagnosed as a
Uh,
kid. They actually developed like a little bit later, and so I I hadn't heard about this type of food allergy before, and so I was reading that almonds are really good for you. And so
yeah,
I was like, okay, almonds, I need to eat some almonds. I don't even like the taste of almonds, um, but they're good for me. So
right.
I found out like how many almonds were supposed to be good for you each day, and I started eating almonds. I'd never eaten that many almonds before because, again, I don't really like them. Um,
Yeah.
Turns out I'm allergic to them. So
Ooh.
that was not a good situation to be in. And so they may be like objectively a food that contains a lot of nutrients that are helpful for the human body. But for me as an individual, almonds are not a helpful food, right? They're not actually that
Right.
great for me. So it's one of those things that as I adjusted to the food allergies and some other conditions, and I started learning more about nutrition and away from the restriction piece, and a lot of the like impulsive eating kind of calmed down a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this really works. This works for me. Like, I don't have to have this life where I'm like trying to keep track of everything, and feeling so constrained and
Yeah.
restricted. So I started applying it to my patients, and as I learned it, like they started getting better results because it's so funny because it's not something we think about. Like, oh, if you just say that you can allow yourself to eat any foods, like really, it's okay.
Uh huh.
On like Sunday, midday from this time to this time if it's not raining. But like really, anytime it's okay to take away that restriction and bring yourself into freedom. And then it actually like you calm down and it's not the big deal anymore that it used to be, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really interesting though because I I wouldn't have said I had a problem with food, but I had some things that were just, in our culture and were causing more drama than they needed to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Okay. That's intriguing. Now, you said that your expertise is helping busy women to develop a healthy and stress free relationship with food. Tell us a bit about that because I know that there are a lot of ladies who would be very much interested in that kind of advice
Yes.
in terms of their
Yes.
career, their personal life, and stuff. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah. So, you emphasize the stress free part.
Uh
Um,
huh.
and I think it's so interesting because some people will come in like at the beginning when they work with me, they would say, yes, for sure, eating is stressful, or figuring out what to eat is stressful. But a lot of women, they wouldn't say that about their food, right? They would say, I'm stressed or I'm overwhelmed, my
Mm-hmm.
life is stressful. But they're
Yeah.
not necessarily noticing that that a big part of this is coming from the food, and the pressures we're putting on ourselves around our food and our bodies and our health and
Oh.
on all of these things. And when you think about like if you're going out to eat, can you just go out and enjoy that experience, or are you in your head all the time about how many calories does this have, am I choosing the right thing, I already ate this today, maybe I shouldn't eat that, I'm going to have to work it off, I'm going to have to earn it. Are you thinking about all this stuff, or can
Yeah.
you just
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
there and relax and enjoy the
Hmm.
conversation and the company and all of that and the food?
Right.
Maybe you're going grocery shopping and it's the same things in your head, right? I bought this, I always buy these things, I don't know what's wrong with me, I'm gonna for sure eat the vegetables this week. So you load up your cart with vegetables, and then you get to the grocery thing, and then you're checking out and there's this candy, so you, just this one time, and the candy's gone by the time you get home, and you know, the groceries
Yeah,
just feel
yeah.
overwhelming, so you stick them all in the fridge to die the next week, right? Like it's just it's stressful, and
Yes.
you can remove so much of that by learning a healthier relationship with that food, where it doesn't have to be
Okay.
this like fight all the time.
Okay. All right. So is this why you say my clients learn to free themselves from their food struggles and be at peace with themselves and their bodies at any size? I feel like it kind of ties in with what you just explained to us.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when we stop pressuring ourselves
Uh-huh.
to shrink our bodies or to change our bodies, and we stop pressuring ourselves to eat perfectly, whatever we've
Yeah.
just decided that is for the moment, um,
Yeah.
then it becomes a fun experience, right? Then food becomes this thing where we can really enjoy and explore creativity and enjoy other people's creativity in the way that they're doing this, explore the things that we actually like and want. Um, feel nourished and happy in our bodies after we eat. And because we've eaten, like a lot of people don't even eat that, like they're trying to restrict their food, so they're not even eating enough to be able to function.
All
And
right.
so to be able to have that, and we can have this joy and experience life and not hold ourselves back. Yeah.
Yeah, great. So, in light of all that, what would you say are some of the challenges that people face on a daily basis, inclusive of that self accusation and that always being conscious of should I not? Oh my gosh, I ate that this morning. Should I eat that now for lunch and stuff? What are some of the other challenges mentally now?
Mhm.
Do some of the clients that you deal with and the people that you help treat face with regards to having a sort of free and open mind towards nutrition and dieting and the foods that they eat?
Yeah, I mean, a big one is that restriction piece, right? And then with that comes a lot of guilt and shame and
Yeah,
judgment and
yeah,
all the negative
yeah,
voices. Oh, you're not good enough. You didn't do this. You failed. The criticalness, like all the time, right? Just
yeah,
and it
yeah.
overflows. It doesn't just stay in that one area of food. It just starts overflowing to the other areas, and you're never quite good
Right,
enough, and you're always feeling, and nobody will ever like you, and all these lies that start coming in, right? Um, and and this idea that like food is overwhelming, and you start believing all this stuff that doesn't have to be true. It's becoming true in your life because you've repeated it so many times that you're acting like it is
mm,
true, but it doesn't have to be true. And I think that we have an opportunity to show people that it's not true, right? Like
yeah, yeah,
people doing this kind of work, like you could be free of this, right? You could experience something totally different and not be stuck in this, like it always has to be the same. I wake up and instantly I'm starting to think about food and what I ate yesterday and what I'm going to eat today. Like that is an all-consuming thing. There's no space for anything else. And when we start getting into that, it's like kind of heavy, right? It weighs on you. You don't get that
yeah,
choice to like do anything else with your life.
right, right. Okay, great. So I want to just play a short little clip for you and get your feedback. You may have an idea what I'm going to play. So let's go. Let's see.
Hey, Peter. Hey, what's going on? Is something wrong? No. Everything's cool right now. Might be some problems later, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
I love it. Tell me about that, the inspiration, the idea, and how you put it all together. Because I think from a practical perspective, it is so effective.
Yeah, I just really like the audio one. Um, but I think it's so common, right? Like we say like, okay, we're gonna do this, and when we make a
Hmm.
decision, it uses it uses energy, right? We have to put
Yeah,
effort into that decision to follow
yeah,
through. When we make that decision using willpower
yeah.
and discipline, we're
Hmm.
using willpower and discipline the entire time
Yes.
whenever we're reinforcing that decision. Those are limited, right? Throughout the day,
Ah.
like we have a lot in the morning, and then we just kind of like peters out during the evening. So you get a lot of people feeling like, I am for sure gonna do this thing.
Mm.
This time it's gonna be different
Hmm.
than every other time in the world. I'm gonna try. Here we go. And maybe the first couple of decisions, it's great. You're feeling great. And then you've
Yes.
had a full day of work and things are going in your schedule's nothing like you thought it would be. And then maybe just this once. No, I'm going to be good. No. And it starts being this little thing. And then
Yeah.
it starts being a bigger thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the example that I have is, do not think about the purple elephant.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Don't think about it. Now,
Yeah. But
what
you're gonna
did you
think
think
about it
about it?
anyway.
Yeah. But were you thinking about the purple elephant prior to me telling you not to think about it?
No. No.
No.
No.
So
No.
no
No.
willpower was needed before I told you, before I set up a rule saying you
Yes.
can't do this. And now you
Yes.
have to use so much discipline just to get it right. Eventually, you're going to be thinking about this purple elephant. I just created a situation for you that you are set up to fail. And that was what we were doing with people. That's what diets are doing every time. That's what even like wellness rules or like lifestyles and things like that, that's what they're doing, is they're saying you
Yeah.
can only eat this much sugar, or you can only eat candy on the weekends, or you can only eat food in between certain hours, or you can only do these things. It's a setup to fail situation, right? And that's the thing. That's where you get this, like, once it's the first day and you're already messing up. What a burden to put on people.
Wow. Yeah, that's quite intriguing. Wow. So tell us a bit about the tongue body brain alignment. Is that a technique? Is that a system? And how does it work, Shelly? Tell us.
Yeah. So the tongue body brain alignment is my way of explaining. It's a framework to explain and apply a
Uh-huh.
process called intuitive eating. So I
Okay.
have my specialty is in intuitive eating, and it's got 10 principles, and it's more theoretical.
Okay.
And so people were having a really hard time conceptualizing, like, what does this mean? Um, there's a lot of resources out there, but I found that one of the quickest ways to describe it was this tongue body brain alignment. So that's why I created
Hmm.
it. Um, each each piece of this is meant to give us information. So it
Yeah.
doesn't mandate any decision. It just gives you information so you can make an informed
Okay.
decision.
Right.
So the tongue is your taste preferences in this moment, and the body is how you feel now and how you'd like to feel after you eat. And your brain is all the information and the schedule knowledge, and your knowledge of what's in the fridge, and your knowledge of how much time you have, and all the information and the patterns, and like if you ate something and you got really sick, most of us don't like that food anymore.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
your brain stores that knowledge, like, oh, I
Oh,
remember back then,
yeah.
the memories, right?
Yes.
And it
Yes.
has knowledge of the thoughts that you have around yourself and your food and everything. So that's often the piece that gets out of alignment really fast,
Mm-hmm.
because it looks innocuous, right? Oh, this is just nutrition information, but it's false
Mm.
nutrition information, or it's carrying all this judgment and shame, and
Yeah.
then it twists that part of the brain to be out of alignment. So what you want is, you want those three. If you think of like three overlapping, like in a triangle, kind of, they're somewhat overlapping, and so there's going to be a part in the middle that has all three overlapping.
Right.
That's going to be the most satisfying. It doesn't mean it's the right answer. It just means it's the
Uh-huh.
most satisfying answer. And we're talking
Okay.
about satisfaction as it's in this moment when you're eating, and it's after you eat. So that's the difference between satisfaction and pleasure, right? Pleasure is all in this moment. So the tongue piece of that, the tongue is all focused on this moment. This is what I want to eat. Your body is probably thinking like, yeah, I'm hungry now. I could fit that. That sounds good. I need some food, right? It's maybe not as picky about what foods as the tongue, but it may
Mm-hmm.
also have some information about how much, like quantity of food, or um, you know, maybe certain foods, like if you have a lactose intolerance or something, you can't have
Yeah.
milk,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the tongue is like, I want ice cream, and your body's like, I don't want to feel gassy afterwards, and and your brain's like, I think ice cream has lactose. Like, I don't know if this is a good idea. But if your
Yeah.
tongue is out of alignment, your tongue's gonna be like, let's eat the ice cream, and that's the
Wow.
only thing, right?
Yeah.
That's going to
Yeah.
matter, is just that piece, but it's out of alignment, so it's not going to be as satisfying after you eat as maybe something else. Like, maybe we're going to take the lactose-free ice cream to honor the tongue and the body and the brain. Oh, that's a satisfying choice, right? Or we're going to take some enzyme and we're going to eat the regular, whatever it is. That way, it's bringing it more into alignment,
Alignment. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that you're more satisfied with the whole experience.
Wow. Fascinating. Thanks for sharing, Shelly. So I'm looking at a practical situation. Let's say someone is starting from zero, scratch, and they are having serious struggles with dieting and nutrition. They know that they are not getting enough of the necessary vitamins and nutriments. It is not, the body is not even retaining it. Yeah. And they come to you, but they're going to start from scratch because they have never been involved in any nutritional program, weight loss program, nothing like that. What are some of the things that you're going to say to them to get them started in the right direction? And what is the mindset that they need to have? Because now they're going to have to change some habits. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do they begin from scratch with your assistance?
Well, first off, it's going to be easier for them than somebody who's been on a lot of diets. That would be the first thing I say, because the more
Oh,
diets you've been on, the more you've tried to change this and it's become a problem, like you've
uh
started
huh.
developing that weird relationship with food, the harder it
Yeah.
is because you have to relearn that. If you're starting
Okay.
from scratch and you've never done this before,
Yeah.
it's actually easier because you have
Okay.
fewer weird things that you're unlearning.
All
Um,
right.
so I
All
just
right.
give them that encouragement. Like, it might feel like this is all new and overwhelming, and it's okay because it's
Mm-hmm.
actually an easier path, right? Not to
Right.
say that you can't do it, because I have the majority of my clients come from that like world of dieting, and they're like, I have
Yeah.
done like every diet under the sun since I was 8. And I'm like,
Oh,
okay, but that's okay because you have help going through this process, and it doesn't have to be overwhelming. But for
right.
the person who's new, we just start from the beginning, right? We say, okay, let's go with, let's not worry about the food. Let's make sure your mindset's set first, because we don't want to create a situation where now they're obsessed with their food, right? So I want to establish the correct mindset first. So I teach that
Right.
first. And then I say, okay, now let's go into the gentle nutrition side of things, where we're talking about like, hey, let's do variety. Let's do, variety within the food groups, variety across the food groups. We're not cutting anything out. All foods are fine. They all
Yeah.
fit.
Yeah.
Making sure that they have that unconditional permission to eat, because even in a situation where they've never been in a diet,
Wow. Come on back. Seem to have lost Shelly there for a little bit. Yeah, we lost her. Wow. Okay, so I'm just gonna run this ad here for now and hope that we get Shelly back soon. At Andy's Personal Development, you get the added advantage of 23 years of business experience. Our core competencies include life and personal development coaching, either individually or for your team. With me at the helm, you get someone that is internationally accredited, as well as internationally recognized and awarded. So whether it's a conference, seminar, workshop, or a retreat, we will write your speech, execute it with precision and value to influence your audience and deliver your core message. We specialize in leadership, communication, and teamwork. In the end, everyone is happy. So, call us today at 868-290-2395 or send us an email at lovebitsa@gmail.com or visit our website at www.andyspersonaldevelopment.com. We thank you in advance for making contact with us as we seek to become your partner in health, happiness, and prosperity. Hey, we are still live and we are still waiting on Shelly to return. I don't know what's happening with her and her system. She should have been back by now. We just lost her in the middle of a very intriguing and dynamic conversation about the nutrition mindset, as she is that coach and majors in that area of helping people deal with nutrition and the dietary experiences, weight loss, and being able to be, comfortable and competent at setting their diets and dealing with their different levels of nutrition. I've lost her, and I don't know what is happening with that. I have no communication at this time. So I'm going to wait until hopefully she gets back into the studio and we can continue and complete this uh, fantastic and intriguing episode. In the meantime, I'm going to play one more ad for us. So stand by. Are you hurting from withdrawal, anxiety, and burnout? You need a solution. You deserve health, happiness, and prosperity. Register for free for our webinar coming up in the month of March. It can make the biggest. Yeah. So what I did was that was the video that was used for YouTube, and it's a short. It's just about 15 minutes. So just want to remind you about our webinar registration, which is free, the power to overcome. And this is the link here that you can use to register. It's beginning on the 6th of March 2023 at 10 a.m. AST. It's a free webinar registration and it deals with the challenges of withdrawal, anxieties, and burnout. And we're going to find a way to exclusively deal with anyone who is having those challenges and the best way in which they can manage themselves so that they can overcome, if not all, some of those challenges and live a better, valuable, informed, and fulfilling life. So, we just want to remind you about that webinar registration. It's coming up on the 6th of March 2023, and it's free, free, free. Um, the link is there on the screen, so you can register now in advance and keep that on your calendar as wow. So Shelly is back. So stand by, folks. Let me see if I can bring her into the studio. Hey, Shelly.
Hey,
Are you?
sorry about that.
That's okay. That's okay. Let me see if I can get a better version of us here. Hold on a second. I'm going to try this one. Okay, great. So we are back. Shelly, we lost you for a minute. We were concerned, wondering what's happening.
Well, thank you for your concern. I don't know what's happening either. I am wondering that too. My computer was just like, there's no more internet. It's like, really? It's on my phone
Wow.
still.
Wow.
So it's okay. We just roll with it. But this is why, like flexibility, right? Just like in what we eat, it's fine.
I like that. I appreciate that. That's wonderful. By the way, let me just give you a reaction based on that. Let me see what I'm going to do. A round of applause. Okay, great. So we were talking about someone who would have come to you and started from scratch, and you were explaining the differences of someone having started from scratch. It would be easier for them rather than someone who had come with, I don't want to use the term excess baggage, but maybe challenges from the past that they have not properly resolved in their minds, and it creates further challenges. You want to kind of finish that and then we can move on to something else?
Sure, sure. So I don't know what you heard, so it might be a little bit of a repeat, but I think I
That's
would
all right.
start with the mindset piece, right? So
Yeah.
we make sure that everything is, you know, basically like a check, right? Okay,
Yeah.
are we
Yeah.
thinking about our food in the right way so we can have that groundwork for the gentle nutrition in the future so that it's not just a
Yeah.
diet? Um, and then I'd also check depending on how they're coming to me and things like that. Like if they already have something in mind, like oh, I have this condition or something, then that has to be taken into consideration, right? When we're talking about nutrition and when we're
Yeah.
talking about um, what to do around that. Like sometimes there's more
Hmm.
urgency to bring in the nutrition piece a little earlier, but
Okay.
often it's still fine because um, I was saying that, before we knew nutrition science, we actually were living and thriving and eating still,
Okay.
right? Like
Okay. Right.
it's kind of
Yeah.
built into our bodies to be able to know how to eat in a way that makes
Yeah.
sense for the human body. And
Right.
so if we start there, like just having the right mindset, a lot of this works itself out, and then we can fine tune with the nutrition.
Yeah. Great. Okay. So, Shelly, I'm going to play something for you, and it maybe a bit unconventional or controversial because your take on it is quite different from what people may be normally accustomed to or accustomed to hearing. So I'm going to run it for about 2.5 minutes and I want to get your take on it. Very important aspect of all what we are discussing right now. So here we go.
Hi, I'm Shelly, nutrition mindset coach and dietitian. And today I'm going to be talking a little bit about self-talk, the mental dialogue that goes on um, every day, like all the time. Sometimes it's positive and sometimes it's negative. But I wanted to tell you a little bit about something that I've been learning about that kind of goes against a lot of the recommendations that we hear to have, like, oh, just think positive or have some positive statements that you tell yourself. Um, and the reason I want to share this is because there's actually been research that shows that it may be harmful to use positive statements about yourself if you don't actually believe them. So, for example, if you're having a really challenging day body-wise, and you're supposed to say to yourself, "I am feeling great. I am beautiful, and I am strong, and I love my body," and you don't feel like that at all, that gap is actually going to mean it is actually going to make that statement, that use of that statement, really harmful. So the reason this happens, they thought there were a lot of reasons. The theories of why this could be kind of involve, like, when you have a belief that is very far from a belief that you already hold, that gap widens and you double down on the thing that you already believe. So if this is in contrast, like if you are supposed to be using your positive statement, it's really in contrast to how you're feeling right now, what you believe about your body right now, or what you believe about yourself right now, that you're going to reject the statement about the one that you don't believe, and you're going to double down on your stand over here. So now you're going to feel even worse, that you're going to feel like, yes, for sure, your body is terrible. Another reason that this might happen is because if that gap shows, yes, this is your ideal over here, and you're very far from it, then you might feel like, oh, I'm so far away from my goals. I'm so far, and you're gonna that gap between where you want to be and where you are is going to feel really uncomfortable. Like, if it's a little gap, you're like, oh yeah, that could be, like, I can do that. If it's a really big gap, now you have this hopelessness feeling too. So now you feel like you're already feeling bad, and it's just going to stay this way because the gap is too big. So we don't want that to happen, obviously. So some of the things that they say are to shorten that gap. When you're using a statement that is too far away, that is too all-encompassing and just feels really unrealistic, the chance that you're going to agree with that anyway, because a lot of those statements that we're encouraged to use are really, they're like so broad and supposed to be so extreme that pretty much we're going to find something wrong with them, right? So we're going to be like, oh, I am beautiful all the time, but what about that one time when I didn't feel beautiful, or when somebody told me I wasn't beautiful? Then, okay, that statement's like wrong all the time. Like, now it's always wrong, right? Because if you're using an extreme and always or never, that it only takes one thing to disprove that. So to not be using those like all-encompassing statements, but to use something that is closer to where you feel like you are right now. So that's one thing. And I'll talk a little bit about how that.
Right. So, like I said, it may be a bit controversial or unconventional, and it's a new twist on affirmations and the things that people repeat, thinking that it's going to work. But you're also hinting in a very strong way on the level of belief that exists in the individual's mind when they say these things because of the gap that can exist as a result or as a minus because you're saying it, but it's not up there in the head where it matters the most. elaborate a little bit on that, because so many people think otherwise, and they just go on repeating stuff all the time and expecting things to happen, and it doesn't work out, and they're always wondering why.
Yeah. Well, and it's the same thing when we're talking about like going from I hate my body to I love my body. Um, there's that concept of body neutrality where you don't hate your body or you don't love your body. It's just there. It's just your body, right? And there it is.
Yeah.
And that's a much easier place to get to than I love my body when you're already like so used to picking it apart and you hate it so much. And it's that same idea of let's make incremental steps toward your goal. If maybe you do want to love your body, maybe you don't care. Maybe you just want to stop hating your body. Body neutrality is a great place to go then. And it may not even be that, you know, that you can get there. Like maybe that's too far away. So maybe we're just going to say, what's the most believable next step that you can go from where you are right now? So we just take the next step. Like I have a body. I forget who said that one. I really liked that. I didn't come up with it, but somebody came up with if it's too far to go from like that step, then just start with I have a body.
Okay.
And just get comfortable with that statement that you have a
Right.
body, because some people are saying like I wish I didn't even have a body, right? Like they just
Wow.
cannot get over
Yeah. Yeah.
all the hatred that they have built up and that people have given them
Uh-huh.
and that they've taken on. It's just really hard. So yeah, where that the smallest step is, because it's the most believable and it's going to be the easiest for us to get to, right? The next step, and we can build on that.
Wow. So I'm going to ask you, Shelly, to share with us your expertise on some practical foods that people love or they choose to eat, particularly at certain times of the day. A cheeseburger. What is the nutritional value in a cheeseburger? And if someone actually has to eat it, what is the best time? Now, I know there's so many other things surrounding that question, but from a professional perspective, what are your take
Yeah.
on
So
a cheeseburger?
remember that I'm an all foods fit person.
Right?
So a cheeseburger, you asked about the nutritional value of a cheeseburger.
Yeah.
So there are some things that, you know, when we come to the gentle nutrition side of things, which is why I don't talk about this too much publicly,
Yeah.
because I don't know where people are in the mindset piece first, right?
You're right. Right. Right.
Because if I say something and somebody's not ready to hear it and they're really deep in dieting, it will make that worse. Because
Mm.
this just becomes another rule, right? But
Yeah.
if somebody's
Yeah.
in a neutral place and they can
Yeah.
take this information neutrally and helpfully, and their brain is in alignment still, great. So I think I'm going to be a little more, I'm going to skew on the cautious side here. Um, but I would say, you know, a cheeseburger has, assuming that it's like some kind of protein patty plus, you know, the,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
bread or something. You've
Yeah.
got carbohydrates, you've got fats, you've got proteins, and that's a really well balanced meal when you're thinking about it
Ah.
that way. Same with pizza. Pizza, because it
Right.
has like cheese or proteins on it, that's proteins, there's fats, there's carbohydrates. So you're
Yeah.
actually getting a really well balanced meal, and our bodies really enjoy it when we eat those three macronutrients together, the
Right.
carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. So it
Mm-hmm.
actually is really good. Like it is very satisfying in that way.
Right.
And again,
Right.
remember we talked about like satisfaction is the goal, right? If
Ah.
that's what you want, like satisfaction is the goal, because that helps us know when it's not just pleasurable in the moment, but when it's satisfying overall, even after
Mm-hmm.
you eat. That's probably a good indicator. Like that alone actually helps you have a healthier diet overall. Even so, the weird thing about this, like you're asking about specific foods, but the thing about this is when there's research done around people who are trying to eat specific foods, like being healthy, they're actually less healthy than the people who are just trying to go for satisfaction and do these principles of intuitive eating and not focusing so hard on like the nutrition directly. They're actually just
Yeah.
focusing on, hey, let me go back into a balanced way of eating, fixing my relationship with food, and the rest works itself out. So
Okay.
everything we have, everything that we eat has some kind of nutritional value. Like I think I have a social media post on like, you know, go ahead and eat what you want. Like I'm eating like a candy thing. okay, that's carbohydrates, right? And yes, it doesn't always act the same in our bodies, but it like that's, we're not ignoring nutrition science here. A carrot is not the same as carrot cake, but morally, the carrot is the same as the carrot cake. It's all just food and it's all neutral. And when we can get to that point, the faster we can get to that point, the healthier we will be and the healthier we will eat. And there's research to support that. So while the cheeseburger is like villainized, it's actually a really satisfying food for most people. The thing is, it can feel heavy, right? It can feel heavy.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you asked about
yeah.
timing. So if it feels really heavy and you're about to go do a workout right after that, you probably don't want to
Uh-huh.
eat it. Or if you're going to go
Yeah,
to
yeah.
bed, a lot of people don't sleep well when they
Mm.
have something really heavy sitting in their stomach like that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
you know your body though. You already knew the answer to those things, right? As soon as I said that situation, you're like, oh yeah. So you already kind of know, right? The body information, that's what I'm talking about, is like, how do you want to feel after you eat? And your brain has
Yes.
this idea of like, after this, I'm going to do XYZ. And if it's not going to be a comfortable feeling, that's not
Yeah.
satisfying, right?
Right, right, right. Wow. Interesting. Thanks for sharing, Shelly. So let me go to a different level. Um, I wonder sometimes if, like, for example, on practical experiences with some of your clients, uh, if the challenges that they have with nutrition and eating disorders, if that somehow transfers to other aspects of their lives and it affects them in a negative way and they kind of lose a certain amount of discipline and so on, do you get that feedback? Do you get that sense of hopelessness sometimes coming from some of your clients, that the eating disorder and stuff sort of interferes with other aspects of their life and they have like an extra problem or extra layer of problem that they have to deal with?
Yeah. I think the more disordered your relationship with food is, the more likely there is other things going on in your life too. So I often work
Ah,
with people who are working with counselors or therapists.
right.
And
Yeah,
they
yeah.
actually, I think the clients who come either with some experience of working with a counselor or are in counseling right now, they actually have some of the higher success rates because they're more used to doing
Okay.
the work that's required to change their relationship with food, and they're more used to
Right.
addressing the other aspects of their life, because it's we don't just eat in isolation, right? Like, this is not the only thing we're doing in our whole lives is eating, except for when we're getting to the point where it's a really severe eating disorder. Sometimes it can take over your life and it seems like the only thing I ever get to do is think about my food or eat or what I'm not eating or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And it does,
Yeah.
it takes
Yeah.
over that life. Again, I forget who said this, the phrase, but it's been called the life thief,
Hmm.
that it will steal your life, right? Like, it just takes away,
Yeah.
sucks the
Yeah.
joy, it takes away all your hobbies, it takes away all your friends. So when we're talking about that severe, yeah, it definitely impacts. But even less severe, there's usually something else going on when we have that disordered relationship with our
Mm.
food. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Wow. Okay, so we are coming to the end of our episode, and we have had a very interesting and informative conversation with Shelly just far. Shelly, let's imagine that you have the opportunity to speak to the world about their approach towards dieting, nutrition, and any form of eating disorder. And you had a package of words that you'd like to say to them. What would you say to them that would help them to understand that they don't really have a challenge, but they just need to do certain basic things, make certain changes, maybe habitual, maybe mental, but there's a way in which they can manage their nutrition and eating disorder much better than they are currently doing now? What would you say to them?
I think I'd say it's not your fault that
Yeah,
you are in this situation. Um, a lot of times you're trying your hardest. You don't know how
yeah,
to do this any other way because this is how you were taught,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So um,
Okay.
it's going to be okay. You just need to get yourself a different teacher. You just need to figure out how you can get the support to move out of the
Yeah,
situation, because it's not your fault, and you can totally learn different skills, and have that different
right,
story around
right.
food and yourself.
Okay. Great, wonderful. So I'm just going to put up something on the screen here now, And I want you to also tell people how they can make contact with you if they need your services, your professional advice on how they can deal with dieting and eating disorders and their choices. Just share your hashtag information with them, Shelly.
Yeah, so my Instagram handle is Confident Nutrition Travels. My website is confidentnutritionnow.com.
Yeah.
And I think from those two, you can probably get to everything else.
Oh, okay, great. Wonderful. I think I may have your website. Let me see if I did put it on here. Boom, I think that's it. So that they can actually see it. Um, yeah, scrolling over at the top. Shelly Confident Nutrition Now at confidentnutritionnow.com. Shelly at
Yeah, that's my
confidentnutrition now.
Yep, that's my email address. It goes straight to
Right,
me. If you
right.
wanted to check
So,
out my website, just take out the Shelly at part, and it's just that straight
okay,
up
great.
confidentnutritionnow.com.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and you can reach me there. Oh,
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing. Shelly, you have been an amazing and very informative guest. And we wish that you, not we wish, we hope, don't like using the word wish somehow or the other. We hope that you have so much success and continued progress in whatever you're planning to do going ahead. One final question: what does the future hold for you in terms of the work that you do? Are there any new developments, new research techniques, information that is coming on stream? Are you planning to do a book? What's new for Shelly as you look at your future going forward with your areas of core competence?
yeah. Well, eventually I'll have a book. Um,
Ah,
right now, I'm working on the Joyful, Nourished, and Free program,
uh-huh.
and you can find out more
Okay.
about that on the website. But it's a
Right.
12-week program for women who are interested in the work that I do and developing that joyful uh, and healthy relationship with their food, right? To break free, like all
Okay.
the things that we've been talking about so far.
Okay. Wonderful. Thanks for sharing. So now I'm just gonna give them a 10 seconds. Say thanks for tuning in. Thanks for supporting our program. Thanks for supporting our show. And on behalf of Shelly and myself, we are saying from Andy's personal development in the breakout room, remember the three key words: it's health, happiness, and prosperity. And with Shelly's help and my information, you can get there. All right. So in the meantime, remain peaceful, remain loving, remain kind, and remember that we all have a story that matters. Everyone is important. Okay. Until next time, this is Andy and our guest Shelly saying so long, Godspeed, Shalom, Namaste. Bye for now. See you next time, guys. Take care. Hold on, Shelly.